Three messengers flying. Remember what he says? He says, Yahweh, Yeshua, Jesus, won't come back until the gospel has been spread all over the world. What is this angel doing? He's spreading the gospel all over the world. What is the gospel? Look at his gospel. Here's the heavens. And he says, fear Yahweh and pray to him. Fear Yahweh and communicate with him. Talk to him. Make him your God.
Are you talking about verse 7?
Yes. What does your translation say?
I've been following the NIV and KJV, and this NIV, he said in a loud voice, fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water.
Yeah. So they say, here it says, fear Yahweh and do your prayers to him. There it says, fear Yahweh and worship him, right?
Give him glory.
Yeah, give him glory. But in here, it just says, and pray to him.
I like the no one could burn the sound except 144,000.
And why is that?
Well, we will know his voice.
But why only these 144,000?
They're the ones that are sealed.
They were redeemed, right?
But there's many, many more there,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it says right there were the 144,000, but there were voices there.
Who hadn't been defiled and kept themselves pure.
Where did the 444,000 from?
They say the tribe.
From the Abraham's tribe, the 12 tribes passed down from Israel, Jacob, right? Okay. So what about all those grafted in? Why aren't they mentioned here?
It's not our time.
So what time is this?
It's before the last 3 bowls.
The first. Okay, but
Good answer.
how many gatherings do you see in this passage?
Who, the angels? Or
Well, you notice in 14:1, the Lamb is standing on Mount Zion, and with him was 144,000 with the Father's name written on them.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now when we get to verse 14, we get a harvest. Sitting on there with crown gold, thrust your sickle and harvest. And then in 17, we get another harvest. So we get the first harvest is coming, verse 16. And then we get another harvest, and that is in verse 18. See that? 2 different harvests. So one is the harvest to come, we're not told, but this is often called the wheat harvest in 14. And then the grape harvest, we are told the grapes of the earth also get harvested on the 18th. But when we go all the way back to 14, we've already got a harvest. We have 144,000 who are there. So you see, we have 3 different harvests. What is this verse, chapter 14 called? These are the
Lamb
and the first fruits. The first fruits harvest. This ties in with the Church of Philadelphia. The first fruits harvest. And then we don't get the rest of the harvest. And then you notice we get the first fruits harvest at 14. We got the Lamb with 144,000 with the Father's name on them. Is the Father's name, when we kind of talked about this. So the Father has a first name and a last name. The Son has the same last name, right? So if these have the 144,000 have the Father's name on them, which is the same as the Son's name, so we could say Yahweh God, Lord God, both God's name. They got the Father's name, they have the Son's name. Could these 144,000 who were first fruits taken first be the bride? Because the rest of the harvest doesn't come in that, but there's 2 more harvests coming. In 15, Another messenger said from the cloud, thrust your sickle and harvest, for the time of the harvest has come. And then he did it. And then in 17:18, he says, thrust your sickle for the grapes of the harvest. The grapes have ripened. So you see, in this passage, we get 3 different pictures. 2 true harvests and 1 harvest that's already happened. And you notice it's called harvest, not called rapture. God's words are, these are harvests. I don't know, the Bible doesn't tell us those 144,000 are the bride, but I believe they are.
Well, the bride doesn't come till the end of the 1,000 years, I thought.
Well, why would you say that?
When Jerusalem comes down,
Yeah.
the new Jerusalem comes down.
Could that be a figure of speech?
No, because it's very specific in the measurements, the dimensions.
But I mean, could the word, I will show you the bride as being a figure of speech of all those who live in the New Jerusalem? Or are you telling me the bride is a building?
No, the bride's not a building.
Okay, so it's a figure of speech, right? So when he says, I will show you the bride of Christ, and coming out of the earth is a building. He says, I'm going to show you the bride of Christ. Here's a building. And everybody lives in there. So could that be a figure of speech of this is where the bride lives? We know the bride of Christ isn't a building. It's got to be a figure of speech. It represents the bride. Isn't that what figure of speech does? Represents the bride. So these 144,000 here have already been harvested. They were the first fruits. Paul said to the early church, you are the first fruits. They are with the Lamb. We are told they never leave the Lamb. They have the Father's name. Well, if you were married to Yeshua, you're going to have the Father's name. They could only learn this song because this is only a bridal song. These are all conjecture. But this passage, we see 3 different distinct groups. One that's already been harvested with Yeshua, and they're singing, it's joyful, and they have the Father's name. And then we're going to see a harvest by Jesus out of the cloud in 14. In 14, verse 15 and 16. Sat on the cloud and thrust the sickle and harvest. And then we see a harvest of grapes.
But isn't the grape harvest the one where those people are, who's left are the ones who are going to their final?
Yeah, it says they're fully ripened. So remember, we talked about 2 paths. God is calling his people to total set apartness, righteousness. So we bear fruit. We are ready when we are totally set apart. The kernel of wheat is a visible, ready to be plucked when we are fully developed fruit of God. That's the implication. The grapes are fully ripened. Whose character do they reveal?
The Antichrist.
The Father, their Father. Fully developed. The fully developed fruits of the grapes is revealed in Galatians 5. Was it 19 or 20? I think it's 19. And God's wheat is fully ripe in Galatians 22. 20? Yeah. So, and it does say in verse 18, thrust with your sickle and harvest the grapes of the earth, for its fruits have ripened. They are fully visible. They will be ripened when they are fully under the influence of their Father. So I don't know if those first 144,000, but they're not the regular harvest. They got to be the first fruits harvest. The 44,000 were the first fruits harvest. Standing with the Lamb on Mount Zion are 144,000 with the name of the Father on them. They may not be the bride, but it sure seems like it makes the most sense to me.
But then wouldn't he have referred to them as the bride in chapter 7
Chapter 7.
when he, saw those who were sealed from the 12 tribes? Wouldn't they have been referred to as the bride?
He never does refer to them as the bride, does he? Okay, so, but they are sealed.
Mm-hmm.
And so verse 4, and I heard who was sealed, 44,000, from the families of the children of Israel. And then there's the tribes. So they all come from Israel. Doesn't say anything about grafted in ones. And then notice verse 9. After seeing these 144,000 from the tribe of Israel, who God calls his bride, who Israel thought they were being married to God on Mount Sinai. And then verse 9, after this I saw a great crowd, one is not able to number, from all the peoples. These are the grafted in, the Gentiles, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were clothed in white garments, and in their hands were branches. And they cried out with a great voice and said, salvation belongs to Yahweh and to the Lamb. And all the messengers were standing around the throne, the elders and the creatures. So we can see here in 7, we got two distinct groups. We get the 144,000. I'm calling the bride of Christ, with Christ. And then the rest, the great crowd. Now, it's very possible that 144,000 isn't bride because it doesn't tell us. The only thing is, like Dylan said, is he says, here, let me show you the bride. Then he shows them a city. Okay. Well, the city's not the bride, but it's probably reminiscent of the bride of Christ as being one city. So I just wanted you to see that difference there in the Revelation. Those are some good questions there you can choose to ask your Lord to help you understand.